kiss for you.
What I believe, and I'm kind of showcasing this kind of chart here, is that tech reviews, compared to other kind of reviews, which we'll get to, feel like they don't matter because the actual amount of people that are going to be using them to determine their decision is extremely low. And so that's why I'm saying the reviews don't matter, is because the people that would benefit from them don't end up, watching them. So an example here is for a graphics card, right? Most people don't buy a graphics card. They buy it in like a pre-built or a laptop or anything like that. And if you are going to buy a graphics card, you are going to want to probably do your research, right? So these are the kind of people that you would expect to do reviews. However, I've talked to a lot of people that their only requirements for getting a graphics card in their computer, or if they're going to be building one for the first time, is they have a price. In this case, we'll say it's $700. They want a brand, in this case it'll be NVIDIA, and they heard about, large amounts of VRAM are good and important, so they want 16 gigs of VRAM. Most people, what they're going to do at this point is just type in best GPU under $700 and, look at it and say like, okay, RTX 4070, the RX 970, but you want NVIDIA for all the, ray tracing and stuff. So it's like, okay, RTX 4070 seems to be it. So you check and you look at RTX 4070 and you're like, all right, 600, 680, 680, 680, 800. Okay, so it looks about 680 is what the typical ASUS RTX 4070 card is going for. And you're like, okay, that's a good deal, and you buy it and you're all good, right? You check the reviews, and as you can see, the reviews on ASUS site are positive. The reviews for Newegg's site are also positive, right? And these are base 4070s. You're like, okay, reviews are positive. That's within my budget here, and everything looks pretty good, and so you buy it, right? So 680. And then you go ahead and look and you check what the 4070 should be kind of going at. And you see, oh, it's $550. Huh, that's weird. Why is it an extra $130? And you check again and you're like, I'm pretty sure. Yep, nope, 680. It says it's usually $811. You're like, yeah, and Newegg says it too. That's weird. And if you don't check reviews, you won't ever know that you paid $130 more than you should have for this $550 card, right? And that's a problem. And people don't see that. They see the reviews, right? The reviews are actually positive, but unless you go out of your way to check, like the 4070 review. If you go out of your way to check the 4070 review, you don't really see a ton of press about it, right? We see one talking about if it's worth $600, so we get some kind of idea of a pricing here. But that's a 2-year-old video on a 4070, right? And so you're looking at this and you're like, oh, okay, it's $600. It's probably gone down from that if you're informed. And then you realize, oh, actually, no, it isn't. The 4070 is still going for a large quantity of money. That's my issue with the review thing, is do they matter? Well, if you want to save money, they matter. But if most people aren't going to do that and they're just going to click on these things and buy it because they see it's a good price and they see the reviews are good, then you're not really achieving anything. The reviews aren't effective in doing their job of warning people about the problem if you never get to see it, right? So that's a good example there. Let's go for something that I personally don't know much about, so it would be a good test case. Speakers, right? Speakers, in this case, I have headphones. I wear headphones a lot. I have a lot of reviews on headphones, so I don't know a ton about speakers. My price here is going to be $350 because that's what I spent on one of my headphones, so I'm like, okay, price equivalent. And my only requirement is that it's small enough to fit on the desk and it has manual tuning knobs. I don't want to deal with anything that has any software to it. So I'll do what other people would do, and I would type in best speakers for PC under $350. Right? And you'll check it and you'll say these ones. Okay, and we'll paste it there. And we'll see that they're currently on sale for about $180. Right? These two small things here, $180. They have good reviews as per usual, and they're 100 watts, all that stuff. And they connect through the little jacks at the back. And me, knowing absolutely nothing about speakers, would say these are a great bet and to buy them. The issue is, as you've seen of what I've done, because I don't know anything about speakers, I have to trust these Amazon reviews, which we know a lot of the times tend to be kind of falsified or bots or different products or what have you, but it's not always a super ideal way to trust these reviews. So let's go and check the reviews for this. We have one review from 5 years ago. We have another review from 5 years ago. We have a review from 6 years ago. Okay, we have a review from 4 years ago. Someone that's really invested in this would check all these reviews. But considering the relatively low views that these tend to get and the very large amount of praise that these speakers are getting, I would suspect that someone like me, especially at this $180 price point, probably wouldn't be checking all these reviews. They'd probably just go out and buy them. And so their reviews aren't very, again, effective at doing their job. Where does it all lead into? It's leading to the fact that if you take other aspects, we'll use car manufacturing and entertainment, this could be games, TV shows, movies, what have you. They are a lot stricter, and I'll get to this point in a second, but I think they're a lot stricter in terms of the requirements of what you need, and you're going to probably be spending a lot more on them. My parents recently bought a new car, as their other one was having an issue in their new house. They couldn't get up the longer part of the route to their driveway because it was a front-wheel drive car, especially in the winter in New England, it becomes a problem, so they need another car. And their requirements were as follows, right? It needs to be relatively probably a Japan model because it needs to be reliable and easy to replace, and all these other things they needed here, right? And so they settled on a Subaru Outback. That took a long time to determine, a couple months of researching, reviewing, looking at car forums, looking at US car and reports, looking at reliability scores, looking at a bunch of reviews, all that stuff, because it's a lot of money to spend and it's a critical part of the your general life, right? It's the main car that you're going to be using. On the flip side, we have something that's also equally as important, but for a different reason, which is variety, right? A new show comes on, let's just say Shogun, for example, it's on Hulu, and they're like, okay, should you watch Shogun? Well, what are your qualifications? Does it have an interesting premise? In terms of Shogun, they think it's an interesting premise. Does it have notable stars? In this case, no, but it looks like a big action set piece thing. It's on Hulu. In this case, we already have Hulu, so the cost is nothing except our time. We're not going to watch a review on Shogun beforehand because we already kind of know what to expect and it doesn't cost us a lot, right? The reason I'm saying these is because you're going to spend a lot of time researching, watching reviews, reading articles about a car, and you're probably not going to spend as much time for the entertainment. Tech products kind of fall in the in-between, between a big purchase that you have to qualify a lot of in your head and read about, and a basically just whim of the moment kind of thing where you may not even have to spend any money at all and you can kind of just check it out. Tech products fall in the middle in terms of both price and commitment of thing you're trying to do. And so you would think because of that people would be more likely to watch reviews. But as I check here from these two reviews, one reviewing a GPU and the other reviewing a speaker, Andrew Robinson, speaker worth every, one of these, this one right here. So you check these two and you look at the comments. And the comments are all about their personal experience. And what I want to highlight here is that typically, and I've kind of seen this with my own stuff, my own reviews, and I'll bring that up in a moment, but typically you would expect or hope that when you review something, the comments talk about the reviews. And obviously some are going to be joking about whatever happened in the video and stuff, but you want to see that engagement of the review itself to know that you've done what you need to and people are responding positively. A lot of the time, however, what I see instead is, and this is still good, but it is noteworthy, a lot of people talk about their own experience with whatever product it is. The reason that's important is because on a review of a product, assuming this product is also relatively new, people that already own it, that most likely didn't watch reviews because they might not have been out at the time, are commenting on this review, talking about their experience with the product or similar products. What that tells you, obviously, is that, especially if it's a new product, they probably didn't look at a review before they bought the product. They were probably anticipating it, checked out some new stuff, and bought it before reviews came out, because else they wouldn't be able to comment on the video if they hadn't, with their experience with the product, if they hadn't already bought it, obviously. What that kind of tells you, and you can see it with the speaker one too, is that these people are not checking reviews before they buy things. And that is not necessarily an issue, but what it tells you is these reviews are not as critical as you may see from other things, right? For a car, you're going to be watching a lot of reviews before you spend $35,000 on a car, right? And the hope here is that for reviews to be effective, they need to give you something that you necessarily couldn't get by just buying the product. Not going to be self-promoting here, but I do want to explain this in terms of a video that I made. At the time, the Lenovo Legion T7, which is the computer I currently have, the only SKU that they gave to reviewers of this product was the $3,500 SKU with the top of the line components. Yeah, right here. I believe this one is, where do they talk about the specs? So yeah, so like this model right here with the like full liquid cooling stuff and the top of the line spec and $3,500, right? This thing, the Core i9 and the, in this case it's 4070 Ti, but the previous one had a 3090 and a 4090 in it, right? All the reviewers talked about this PC, and there was no visibility because of how Lenovo kind of marketed it. There was no visibility into the cheaper models. And that's a problem because people probably don't want to spend $3,500 on a system. So this review here talks about that, right? We go in, intro, purpose and background, the impressions, talks about the price, what I paid for it, why it's a good deal, talks about the performance with examples, the build quality, the software support, and then the conclusion. It's about half an hour, right? This is a video on the lower end 4080 and i7 model that at the time there were no reviews of, and I attempted to label it and talk about it as such. So to me, this added value because what it did is it showcased the fact that there is an option and a configuration for this fantastic computer that people are not buying and don't know about because the reviews don't tell them about. And a full-blown computer like this would fall into the more critical buying a car level territory of things you need and want to make sure about and what the build quality is and what the software support is and the warranty and how long it takes to get there. And there's all these things you need to make sure of, right? And so that qualifies as this thing. And so you're going to be checking a lot of reviews. In this case, the reviews aren't effective because all the reviews is the same giant thing that people didn't like and was $3,500 and wasn't accessible to most people. So tech reviews don't tend to be effective because not only are they just generally not very informative or maybe not very direct in terms of what they're showcasing, because as you can see, something can have 4.8 stars. The previous example, yeah, this thing, right? You can check this and it'll say, oh, it's a 4070, and you check the 4070 price and it's like way higher than it should be, but because of the good reviews, you're like, oh, it's fine. Or it can be the opposite and be this thing must suck, or this configuration for this thing must be extremely expensive, so I'm not going to buy it. Meanwhile, there's cheaper options out there. So these are two kind of examples I bring to showcase that like reviews need to be more effective in giving you the entirety of what the capacity is. And that is why in my own reviews, what I try and do, especially for my second channel, which is more gaming focused, I try and talk about the pricing, right? I try and talk about what is the pricing, what are the sales for this game, how is this working. So let me just check right there, right? You can see sales. Let me just right here, right? You can see I talk about like the platforms and stuff, and then I talk about sales because this game, for example, is Persona 5 Strikers, Uso style game, and what's important to know about it is it's $60 normally, right? But it's on sale frequently for like $18, $17. That's important because at the current price, I don't think the game's worth it, but at this lower price, I do. And a lot of reviewers don't talk about price because they're like, oh, it's variable. I talk about price because it is critically important, but I also talk about sales and things that may affect it. Because while the Lenovo is $3,500 now in the top-end configuration, let's say you want that top-end config. Well, a year or two later, it might be considerably less. So if I do a review on this product and don't talk about that, that's not me doing my job. I'm not being effective as a reviewer if I'm not telling you, here's the entire scope of this product. This is a product that is one thing, it could become another thing, but the promise of the product right now is that it's this thing that you can buy currently, right? And I think that's kind of lacking in a lot of reviews that you see, right? I wish, for example, that this card on the Asus website talked a little more about the fact that, hey, this card is a great card at the price I bought it for and list the price they bought it for, but it probably wouldn't be at a larger price, right? And obviously consumers might not be able to do that or tell that, but I think reviewers can. I think reviewers can say, hey, this card is a great value at $550, but if you pay more for that, it's not a good value. A lot of reviewers don't tend to do that. What they tend to do is just say, oh, only buy it at $550, but that doesn't give you the scope. The scope is this can increase in price, and to them, that would not be okay, right? So that's just kind of sort of like a tangent there, but that's what I'm trying to get across, is reviews need to be more effective. I don't think a lot of tech reviews right now are that effective because they're not giving you that entire scope of what the product actually is, or necessarily like what it would be, the best potential for the product, I guess is what I'm trying to say, is the best potential for a GPU in this price range would be, let's say, the 4070 at $550. If you can't get it for that, don't buy it. Right? I'm not going to recommend you buy this card for $130 over MSRP. At that point, you may as well look at other options. But reviews don't tend to highlight that, and so they're not effective and not doing their job. So when I say, do tech reviews matter? Right now, most tech reviews don't feel like they matter because they aren't doing the effective job they need to kind of contextualize how the product actually is for people that actually buy it, both on a review side and on a consumer side. And you can really see this maybe when you deep dive after a couple months, when longer term reviews are really helpful a lot of the times because they can talk about that. They can talk about, okay, what's happened since this card release? What's happened since these speakers are here? Are there better options on the market? Have these decreased in price so that they're competitive? Has a new thing come on that's better, right? So that's why I hope to see more long-term reviews and more lengthier like retrospectives almost on a lot of these products, and I don't kind of see that a lot of the time because they're obviously like, get it out. But I hope to see more of that longer term discussion, which can sort of showcase a lot of these aspects, like the long-term value of whatever you're looking at, more so than like a quick term review would be. So to answer the question, do I think tech reviews matter? At this point, I would say if we can get more long-term or retrospective stuff, I'd say that's greatly improved. But right now, a large quantity of tech reviews don't feel like they matter because they don't get to the real scope of, I believe, what's effective when it comes to a review and talking about a review. So hopefully you found that interesting. And if you did, like, subscribe, do all that, and I'll see everyone in the next video.